Have you ever found yourself staring blindly at a text message thread, desperately scrolling up to find proof of a conversation you swear happened just a few days ago? Have you ever stood in the middle of a room, completely paralyzed by confusion, because someone looked you dead in the eye and told you that an event you vividly remember simply never took place? You probably walked away from that interaction feeling a cold, sinking sensation in your stomach. You started to doubt your own perception of reality. You started to wonder if you were losing your mind, if your memory was failing, or if you were simply going crazy. I need you to listen to me very carefully right now. You are not going crazy. You are not stupid, and your memory is not naturally failing you. What you are experiencing is the result of a highly calculated, invisible form of abuse. You are the victim of neurological warfare. Today, I am going to expose the terrifying medical reality behind gaslighting. I am going to show you how a toxic manipulator does not just play games with your mind, but actually causes temporary, structural brain damage. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how chronic manipulation literally deletes your memories by shrinking the physical anatomy of your brain. But I must warn you, the truth we are about to uncover is deeply unsettling. Once you understand the biological violence of gaslighting, you will never look at a toxic relationship, a manipulative boss, or a narcissistic partner the same way ever again. To truly understand how a manipulator deletes your memories, we have to completely discard the traditional definition of gaslighting. Most people think gaslighting is just a psychological trick where someone lies to you to win an argument. That is a massive underestimation of the danger. Gaslighting is not just a behavioral tactic. It is a systematic dismantling of your brain's physical ability to record and store reality. To grasp this, we must look at the specific anatomy of your brain. Deep inside the temporal lobe of your brain lies a small seahorse-shaped structure called the hippocampus. The hippocampus is the absolute control center for your memory and your spatial navigation. Whenever you experience an event, have a conversation, or feel an emotion, the hippocampus is the biological hard drive that takes that short-term experience and encodes it into a long-term memory. It is the librarian of your reality. Without a fully functioning hippocampus, you literally cannot form new memories and you cannot access old ones with any clarity. Now we must introduce the second piece of the anatomical puzzle, the amygdala. The amygdala is the fear and threat detection center of your brain. It acts as the alarm system. In a healthy, normal environment, the amygdala and the hippocampus work together in perfect harmony. But when you are trapped in a dynamic with a manipulator, this system is thrown into absolute chaos. A master manipulator operates by keeping you in a constant state of subtle, unending anxiety. They give you the silent treatment. They drop vague threats. They blow up over minor mistakes. They create an environment where you are constantly walking on eggshells, never knowing what mood they will be in when they walk through the door. This chronic, unpredictable stress keeps your amygdala stuck in the on position. Your brain perceives this toxic person as a literal life or death predator. And because your brain thinks you are constantly under attack, it floods your system with cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. This is where the psychological manipulation turns into physical brain damage. Cortisol is designed to be in your system for short, intense bursts so you can run away from a physical threat. It was never meant to be constantly washing over your brain 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When you are exposed to the chronic stress of gaslighting, the massive, unending flood of cortisol becomes highly toxic to your brain. And the single most vulnerable structure to cortisol toxicity is your hippocampus. Cortisol acts like an acid on the memory center of your brain. It literally kills off the neurons and the synaptic connections inside the hippocampus. As you endure months or years of this toxic dynamic, your hippocampus actually begins to shrink. It loses physical mass. The biological hard drive that records your reality is being systematically melted down. Think about the profound horror of this mechanism. The manipulator is creating the stress that damages your memory, and then they are weaponizing that memory loss against you. When they tell you that a conversation never happened, your damaged hippocampus struggles to retrieve the file. Your brain is swimming in a fog of cortisol, and you cannot pull up the clear, vivid memory you need to defend yourself. You stutter, you hesitate, you begin to question your own timeline. The manipulator watches you struggle, and they use your hesitation as proof that you are the one who is crazy. They say things like, "Your memory is always so terrible," or "You are always imagining things, you need help." Because your hippocampus is physically compromised, you eventually surrender. You stop trusting your own internal database, and you begin to rely entirely on the manipulator to tell you what is real and what is not. You have outsourced your reality to the exact person who is destroying it. If you are listening to this right now and a terrifying wave of realization is washing over you, if you are suddenly understanding that your brain fog and your confusion are not your fault, you need to subscribe to this channel and hit the like button immediately. We are dedicated to exposing the dark biological realities of manipulation that mainstream psychology often glosses over. By joining this community, you are arming yourself with the elite neurological knowledge required to spot these predators before they can alter your brain chemistry. If you want to take your mind back, subscribe right now and let us dive into the specific symptoms of neurological gaslighting so you can diagnose your own environment. How do you know if your hippocampus is actively shrinking under the weight of a toxic environment? The symptoms of neurological gaslighting are incredibly specific, and they often mimic early-onset cognitive decline. The first major symptom is profound brain fog. You feel like you're walking through life underwater. You struggle to focus on simple tasks, and your attention span is fractured. The second symptom is a sudden inability to recall basic vocabulary. You find yourself stopping mid-sentence because you cannot remember a simple everyday word. Your brain is spending so much energy trying to survive the emotional war zone that it shuts down access to the language centers. The third and most dangerous symptom is the loss of autobiographical memory. You stop remembering who you were before you met this person. Your memories of your past successes, your past confidence, and your past independence become blurry and distant. The manipulator intentionally isolates you from your past identity because a person with no history is incredibly easy to control in the present.
Let us look at how this plays out in the corporate world. Neurological gaslighting is not limited to romantic relationships. A toxic boss can shrink your hippocampus just as effectively as a toxic partner. Imagine a boss who gives you highly specific instructions on a Friday and then verbally destroys you on Monday for following those exact instructions, claiming they told you to do the exact opposite. When you try to bring up the Friday meeting, they look at you with total disdain and tell you that you must have been distracted and not paying attention. If this happens once, it is a misunderstanding. If it happens every single week, it is a systematic rewiring of your brain. Your cortisol spikes every Sunday night. You start experiencing physical symptoms like nausea or a racing heart before you even enter the building. Your memory of your own competence begins to erode. You start double-checking every single email, CCing multiple people, and taking obsessive notes because you no longer trust your own brain to remember the truth. You are not just stressed, you are experiencing a cognitive structural collapse. But here is the turning point of this video. This is the re-hook that changes everything you thought you knew about brain damage. For decades, scientists believed that once brain cells were lost, they were gone forever. They believed that a shrunken hippocampus was a permanent life sentence. But modern neuroscience has discovered one of the most miraculous phenomena in the human body: neuroplasticity. Your brain is not a static block of concrete. It is a highly adaptable, highly plastic organ. It can heal, it can regenerate, and most importantly, your hippocampus has the unique ability to grow brand new neurons, a process known as neurogenesis. The damage the manipulator caused is temporary, but only if you eliminate the source of the cortisol. You cannot heal in the exact same environment that made you sick. You cannot outthink a chemical attack while the toxic person is still poisoning your water supply. The absolute first step to regenerating your memory is the complete removal of the manipulator's ability to trigger your amygdala. If you can walk away entirely, you must do so. But if you share a child with this person, or if you are locked in a corporate contract you cannot immediately escape, you must master the gray rock method. The gray rock method is an elite emotional defense mechanism where you become as boring, unreactive, and uninteresting as a gray rock on the ground. When they attempt to provoke you, you do not argue, you do not defend your memory, you do not show anger, and you do not show sadness. You give them nothing but flat, monotone, one-word answers. You starve them of the emotional reaction they need to feel powerful. When you stop reacting, your amygdala stops firing. When your amygdala stops firing, the cortisol flood completely stops. Once the toxic cortisol leaves your system, the true healing begins. Within just a few weeks of a zero-stress environment, your hippocampus will literally begin to physically expand. New synaptic connections will form. That heavy, suffocating brain fog will start to lift. You will wake up one morning and suddenly remember a word you thought you had lost. You will start to remember the timeline of events with terrifying clarity. And most powerfully, you will remember exactly who you were before they tried to erase you. The return of your memory is the return of your power. A manipulator's worst nightmare is a victim who suddenly regains their absolute clarity, because a person who remembers the truth can never be controlled again.
You must protect your hippocampus with the same ferocity that you would protect your physical life, because your memory is your life. The next time someone looks you in the eye and casually tries to rewrite your reality, I want you to visualize your brain. I want you to recognize their words not just as lies, but as a biological attack. You do not argue with them. You do not try to prove them wrong. You simply observe their tactic, smile an empty smile, and entirely detach your emotional energy from their existence. You hold the ultimate power because you now possess the blueprint to their darkest methodology. If this deep dive into the anatomy of manipulation opened your eyes and gave you the medical validation you have been searching for, you must subscribe to the channel right now. We are exposing the ultimate truths of the human mind, and you cannot afford to miss the next briefing.
Leave a comment down below with the word hippocampus so I know you made it to the very end of this psychological journey. Check the link in the description for elite advanced frameworks on rebuilding your cognitive architecture and dominating your reality. Until next time, protect your mind, trust your memory, and never let anyone rewrite your truth.